Hey, coaches, just got back from the Southeast Wing T spread and defensive clinic. Roger Holmes puts on a great clinic. I've been going since 15, and as I make this, it's 23. And pound for pound, I've been saying it since I went there. It's the best clinic ever. If you have never got a chance to go, they had over half the states in the union had a coach there. I think it was, Roger said like 27 states represented. It is worth it. It is worth it because it's stuff that you can do because he brings in high school coaches uh, that have to deal with the same problems other high school coaches have to. And the college guys he brings in are usually small school guys. This week they had somebody there from Sewanee, University of the South, talking on defense. There was the Mercer staff from Macon was there. That's an FCS program. Of course, Sewanee is a legendary D3 program down here in the Deep South. Uh, Google 1899 Sewanee football. There's a great documentary on it. Those Jokers went on the road trip from hell and went undefeated and is one of the greatest college football teams ever, especially for the era. But a lot of guys wanted me to turn this into a video. They wanted a copy of the PowerPoints that I did. A couple of guys had to leave early and they wanted it, but even the ones that were there, I promised them, I said, hey, I'll send you the PowerPoint if you just want to sit back and soak it in and ask questions and not worry about keeping up with notes and having to take pictures with your phone of the slides. Well, I did that, and as usual, the it was too big for a PowerPoint to be attached, and it turned it into a Google slide, and the videos won't play. And I knew that was probably going to happen. I felt like it was. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it into a series of videos and we'll bunch them up. The first one, I'm going to do them in order I did them at the clinic. The first one was blocking buck or how we block buck. And there's going to be three sections of it, of this particular like session. The first one will be on how we block it. And then the next one will be on the skip pull and the gap down backer, how we do that. And then the last one will be drills, which we didn't get into because of time and because I'll chase a rabbit and I'll talk, talk, talk. All right, so without further ado, let's get started. All right, this was the first buck from gun that we ran. This is exactly how we ran it, and this is how we block it. I just wanted you to see that. This is the buck left, and we'll get into the blocking and all that good stuff. But we run that bubble on the back side. That was my first foray back in 14 into RPOs. Okay. And even though I've been told by spread guys it's not really an RPO, but we'll get to RPOs in the third session. All right, here's a video of us running that buck I just diagrammed for you. We blocked it horribly, but we had a show enough good running back. Those of y'all were there, remember me talking to Coach Ingram on the Dublin staff. He's a Jack State guy, and this guy running the ball went on and played. He was an All-American strong safety at the FCS level. All right, now, a few years ago, and there's been for several years, I dealt with the issue about how to be able to block buck and not let defenses take it away from us or make us just wholesale change things, make us run power or something else. And I played with ideas, when they get in an under front and put a 2-eye or a one or just any A gap defender to the buck side, how that would frig it up because there's not many centers going to reach that nose. Uh, Not even on Sundays are there many centers that can do it. And in Roger Holmes' book, he the very on the buck section of his book, which by the way I recommend that book. I think it's like $80, but it's $80 well spent, somewhere around there. But he talks about how to run a successful buck. And at the time, and I got a preview of it from Roger. So I found this out a few years ago. This is when I was on my journey trying to figure this out. And I was visiting with spread guys who run pin and pull. And then I read Roger's book And the backs must carry out their fakes first and foremost. We know that. You old wing T guys like me, we know everybody's got a block or a fake on every play. Timing is essential, and I don't know a football play that doesn't require timing unless it's quarterback sneak or wedge. Each player is responsible for a block or a fake on every play. You need constraints. Off the buck, you got the trap, you got the waggle, you got the counter crisscross, you got other play action passes besides the waggle. And of course, you've got the down for the true wing T guys to put that defensive end in a bind, in conflict. This last bullet, this is the one that freed my mind. You need to have blocking variations. I remember this, when I said I was studying, delving into it, and I said, that's it. That's it. I mean, it justified me, if you will, that it's okay to do it. But we don't have to be that old grizzled wing T guy sitting in the back of the room saying stuff like, that shit ain't wing T, or that shit ain't buck sweep. Okay, you call it what you want to call it. Potato, potato, tomato, tomato. Okay, I'm gonna call it buck, and we're gonna pull different guys. All right. Another thing I was looking for was stopping run throughs and blitzers. All right, the backside guards, the way I like to do it, because I can consistently, find a backside guard that can be my wrapper. If you can pull a center, he can be your wrapper. If you can pull a center, he can be your kicker too. In all candor, I've never done that, but I have wrapped him. The backside guard should pull with shoulder square to the line of scrimmage while eyeballing the front side slash inside linebacker. Okay. Before he flips his hips. I had a good question from a coach. Said, when does he flip his hips? And I'll show you on the diagram, but I'll tell you now. What he's going to do, he's going to skip pull. We'll talk about that in the second segment of this video session. He's going to skip pull with his shoulders square, parallel to the line, eyeballing that guy. As he clears the A gap, and there is no run through, no blitzing linebacker, or no, delayed, hey, I see it, the guard pulled, I'm triggering, I'm firing through B gap. If there's nothing there, that's when he flips his hips and his shoulders, now parallel to the sideline, perpendicular to the line of scrimmage, and he goes around hunting the last down block so he can turn up and wrap tight to the down blocks, looking for that backer who didn't fire, who didn't try to run through. Okay? I pull different linemen, not just the guards. And this is the thing, the pin and pull guys do this based on what the defense does. And I'll tell you something about that in a minute. This prevents linebackers from only keying the guards. And again, Roger will pull a tackle, and he also has pulled, because he gets in all those formations, he'll pull tight end because he's going to have a tight end and wing back. And unlike me that uses guard, tackle, wing back, my H attached as a wing is primarily the way I do it, and been doing it for years, because where I was for so long at Lynette, we didn't have a lot of tight end type kids. The ones we had also played linebacker or defensive end, and we played kids both ways. And so we just decided, we had a ton of wide receivers. So we decided to go to our base formation, our base personnel group was going to be three wides and an H. Okay. And that H could be a sniffer, or that H could be attached like a wing. All right. On RPOs and key screens are great ways to make the linebackers wrong. We'll get into that in the third session when we talk about play action pass and RPO. Okay, but the key screens are very important too when it comes to outside linebackers, okay, and safeties. All right, reading the backside DN. If you don't want an RPO to control the backside, you can just do it traditionally. Let your backside tackle climb to the backside linebacker and cut him off, and then the quarterback reads the DN. All right, by cutting off that backside linebacker, you're eliminating that run through. Okay, now if you're using the RPO, the backside tackle must gap hinge, because you're going to block him to keep him from hitting your quarterback in the mouth if he reads pass on the RPO, or squeezing it and screaming hard down that line and making the play on the other side of the line of scrimmage. because you didn't gap hinge him. All right, so if you're going to do that, you got to gap hinge him if you're going to run the RPO. Okay, and if you're going to read the DN, of course, you just let that backside tackle climb. All right, now, oh, I was going to tell you what I learned from the pin and pull guys about pulling different guys. What they do, most of them that I studied with and talked to over the last when I was on my pilgrimage these last few years, trying to find this way to do it, which I'm not saying it's the best way, but it works for me. Is I said, okay, if you're uncovered, this is pin and pull guys I'm talking to, which means probably spread guys. I said, if your guy's uncovered, you're going to pull him. And they said, yes. So if he's covered, he's going to reach. And they said, yes. I said, why? And as you saw on the title card, the first slide, I love angles. And I said, why not let the uncovered guy block down and the covered guy be the puller? Now you're giving yourself angles. You don't have to worry about reaching. I don't know what the obsession with reaching, and reaching is great. I mean, that's what you're going to see on Saturday afternoons and Sundays. All right, there's nothing wrong with reaching. But then again, they're playing with grown men that are handpicked for their system. We're playing with whoever gets off the friggin' yellow bus in the morning or whoever's mama drops them off at the front door. That's who we've got, okay, unless you're cheating. So in high school, I think to me, the gap system is the best system because you can have the 145 pound, 165 pound in real small schools, linemen who can be effective by down blocking and getting busy in somebody's ankles and knees. All right. Now, and at the bigger schools, a small lineman is 210 pounds. But what if he's going against a 300-pound three tech? And you say, hey, reach that guy. Come on, man. Unless that kid, that three tech is a sloth, you're going to lose that battle. And so you say, what about the years when you got a guy that can block him? Well, I've done that, but then you're right back square one because you can't control who comes through the front door every morning, and you really can't control who comes out for football. So this is what I came up with, okay? And it's all stolen, and it's really a combination of stolen ideas that I brought together for this particular way, this scheme of blocking buck. Okay. Each lineman on the front side has an inside gap that they're responsible for. All right. The blue guy, the red guy, let's start here. Red guy is responsible for that red area. Anything from just inside his nose. So if the guy's in an inside shade, we consider that in the gap. You've got him. Now, there's things you can do, okay, where you can scheme around that, especially you guys that still run down. You can block down on him, fake down on him, and go around him and then kick him. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about on the buck. So if he's on my inside, to head up, nose to nose, on the lineman adjacent to me, he's in my gap. The blue guy here, same thing. From just inside his nose to head up the next lineman. Anything in there, he's in your gap. You're going to block down on that. Same thing for the green guy, nose to nose. The gold guy, nose to nose. The black guy here, the black zone, nose to nose. So anything in that gap, you're responsible for. And so you won't pull, even if you're the guard. If they got an underfront, there's a guy here, and we'll get into that. All right, here's an example of a lineman pulling, the center pulling. See? See, that's the center and the tackle. Play side tackle and center. Play side guard, block down on the A-gap defender. Do you see what I'm talking about? There's your play side guard. There's a guy in the A-gap. It's a 2-eye, I would reckon. Okay, he's going to come right here. And this guy's going to block down on him. There's your angles. I love angles. Now, we always don't have centers that pull. And if you don't, what you do is you block back with that joker to that 2 or that 3 that's off the frame, and you pull your backside guard. I'm going to say that's what I've done 95% of the time. Okay. 4 years ago, we had a center that could pull. And I've tried it twice, and once was a failure. We just said scrap it. So he's going to block down, okay? And he's going to block down, and this guy's going to block down. So, excuse me, the tackle's going to pull. He's going to block down. Tackle's going to pull kick. Center's going to pull wrap. All right, watch. There you go. Now, this turned into an RPO. They were reading the force guy, but look if he gives it. You got a kick, you got a seal, and then you got a wall of down blocks right here, making a pile. Good stuff. Okay. All right, now here's an example of what I'm talking about. All right, now, and I didn't include the backside guard, but that's just for the sake of the diagram. This is just a straight, regular front, like an even front where they walk down because you got a tight end and a wing back over here on the play side. They walk down their outside backer. Okay. Play him in a 9. So you got a 5-9 or a 7-9. It doesn't matter. Is there somebody in the red man's gap? Yes. He's got him. Somebody in the red man's gap, he's got him. So that's the wing back. He's blocking down. Of course, he doesn't pull. His rule is gap down backer. But I teach him the same thing so they'll know if something's in your gap, you block down on it. Nothing in your gap, then you block down or go to backer. Depends. We'll talk about the progression in a little bit. The tight end, the blue guy, is there something in his gap that we drew up? Yes. He's blocking down on it. All right. The tackle, is there the green guy? Is there something in his gap? The gap we showed you the diagram. Yes. So he's blocking down on him. So, boom. All right. Guard, his rule is gap down pull. By the way, the tackle's rule is gap down pull. So is there something in his gap? Yes. So he blocks down. The guard, anything in his gap? No. He's going to be the pull, and he's the kicker. All right, the center's rule, if you don't have a center that can pull, is back. Doing it this way, the center never has to reach a 0 unless you go against a bare front and you just bound and determined you want to run buck versus TNT, what I call it. For those of y'all who are at the clinic. 2 3s and a 0. Okay, if you got a center that can do it, do it. Because he's not going to get any help because the tackle's got to get the 3 tech and a TNT. All right, I recommend you just pull the backside guard and he kicks and you take your chances with a scraping backer or you run power. If you don't have a center that can pull and somebody gives you the bare front. Okay, that's about the only defense that can really frig up a buck, but they're just giving up so much other stuff. I mean, you can power the 2 3s and a 0, you can power their asses to sleep. All right. So let's talk real quick about the gap down backer and gap down pull rule. If there's a dash, see here, these dashes means it's a progression. So what they'll do, let's say their rule is his rule, the tight end and the wing back, their rule is gap down backer. So they're going to look in their gap, something there, boom, it's over. They got it. If nothing's in their gap, then they look down. They go to the next word in the rule. It's a progression. Second word is down. Is anything down? Let's say it is. Boom, they get it. They look inside, nothing in their gap, nothing down. Then they go backer. Same thing for the tight end here. Boom. Okay, gap down, backer. All right, the tackles rule, still a progression. And the guards rule, we'll talk about both of them together right here. Their rule is gap, down, pull. Anything in your gap? Yes. Boom, you're blocking down. Anything in your gap or down? No. Then you're pulling. Gap, down, pull. It's a progression. Okay? They're going to block down if a DL is in their zone, in their blocking area. They pull and the guard will pull and kick, or the tackle will pull and kick the force if there's not a DL in their zone. No DL in the guard zone, pull, kick. The center's rule can be gap back, pull, if you have one that can pull. Okay? What about the run through? You said this is a way to eliminate run throughs. That backside puller, okay, the guard, he's going to skip pull. I can't show you now how I did it, but I did it in the clinic. You're going to push off with the outside foot, leaving the inside foot still, cross over behind like a karaoke. I've heard coaches say, my kids aren't coordinated to do it. Don't y'all do karaoke as a warm up, dynamic stretch, flex, whatever, as a drill during the off season? Okay. And if you don't, and then you probably can't do it. There may be a time you can't do it. I don't know. But we karaoke, pull, skip pull. Leave that inside foot still, come behind it, then open up your hips, getting flat, eyeballing that backer. If he runs through, boom, fit up right in there, eliminate the run through. If he's firing here, come on and get him here. Okay. All right. So when you're parallel to the line, eyeballing this guy, great question from a coach at the clinic. Said, when does he flip his hips and turn and carry on out to find his down block? When he clears the A gap and there's no run through in the A gap. Okay, that's when he does it. He's going to keep coming, boom, right here. So if the guy's coming through B gap or C gap, he'll get him here. But he's already flipped his hips on his way. But that doesn't mean he takes his eyes off of him. He's still giving him the side eye as he comes through. Okay. But the one we got to stop is that immediate A gap or B gap run through. You got it? Okay. So the rule for the backside guard is pull and wrap to linebacker. Okay. If you're doing it without a center, pulling. If the Mike linebacker tries to run through, play side backer, whatever you call him in your system, the backside guard's responsible for him because that's the guy he wraps to anyway. If the dude just scrapes right here behind the D line, that's the guy you get on your wrap 95% of the time. So if he fires through, that's still your dude. You don't need the wrapper. I had a coach one time say, well, then you lose your wrapper. Well, who the hell's he wrapping to? That linebacker. Okay. All right. What if they fill up the gaps on you? And everybody got gap, oh, gap, 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 yep, gap, yep. Got to make a call. It's a kick call. I've used states like Kansas, Kentucky. I said in the clinic one year it was Kodak because at the time Kodak Black was a real popular rapper, and I let the kids come up with the call. I tell them, I said, you make the call. Just tell me what it is, so when you make it, especially in practice, because I'm in the box during the game, or I'm on the sideline, I can't hear it. But in practice, when I hear you make the call, I want to know what's up. But you can let the kids come up with calls. They won't forget them if they come up with them. It's things that are timely to them, things that, resonate with them, then they're more likely to figure it out. So if there are defenders in every gap, okay, then you make that call. Or if it's TNT, the bear front, you want to let your guard block down on the nose, let your center block back, okay, block down on the 3. Then you make that K call then, the kick call then, and he knows he's kicking. Okay. And if they've got a scraper, you're taking your chances with it. Okay. All right. All right. The rule for the front side guard and tackle is always gap down pull. Gap down pull. All right. So the tight end, his rule is gap down backer. He's a guy in his gap. He's got him. Okay. All right. Look at the green guy, the tackle. His rule's gap down pull. Gap, no. Down, no, because this guy's in the guard zone. He's past the guard's nose. So that he knows he goes to the third word in the rule, the third word in the progression. Pull, pull. So he's now the pull kicker. You say, well, how do you practice that? Well, when we do our pulling drills, everybody does it. Everybody does it. And if you're definitely not going to let your center pull, that'd be a great time for the center to go work with the quarterback on snaps and work on back blocks. Snap to the quarterback and back block. Okay? So the rule for the front side guard and tackle is gap down pull. They block down if there is somebody in their inside gap. Now it says DL, it could be a linebacker. If he's walked up, okay? And I teach them, I said, if you think there's a chance he's going to fire from a shallow alignment, get him, because that's first threat. And you got to take care of that. But they're going to block down if there's a DL in their inside gap. They pull and kick the force if there's not a DL in their zone. I had a guy one time ask me, he said, what if neither one of them have a guy in there? I said, well, then why the hell aren't you running power right here? If there's nobody in that gap, nobody in that gap. or doing something right here, trap, whatever. Okay. All right, if you have a center that can snap and pull, this is what it looks like. Okay. All right, this is versus an underfront. Okay. If you don't, it'd be this guy. All right, but if you got a center that can snap and pull, by the way, the center does not skip pull. Now, I say that somebody somewhere may say, I got one that can. I've never had one that could. Remember, I ain't had but one that could pull effectively anyway. And he couldn't because we tried it because he was really good at pulling. And he said, I want to try skip pull, coach. And we tried it and the snap was erratic. And you never compromise the snap, ever. Which means if he can't pull a lick, but he can snap it on the money, backside guard's your dude. He's your rapper, de facto, permanent. Okay. So if you have a center that can snap and pull, you get a down block versus the underfront right here. And by the way, he's eyeballing this backer in case he wants to run through right here. There's a backer here. There's no DL in their backside gap. They're the rapper. Say, what if there's one here and one here? Then you got a kick call. Okay. Well, no, you don't. My bad. That's if there's one here too. Because you still got your kicker right here. If they do this and you got a 5, nothing's in the tackle's gap. Boom. Say, how do you communicate that? Well, to begin with, we just talk. And these guys just look at each other and say, hey, it's me. Or, hey, I'm down. Or you're gone. And eventually it gets where you don't even make the calls. When you just rep it, rep it, rep it, rep it, rep it. Remember now, if you're going to run buck, you got to marry that thing. Okay, it's an expensive play and it's got to be repped every day. Okay, in my opinion, at least by the linemen. Okay, once the running backs learn their 90-degree cut and finding their wrapper, they're good. They're good doing it, besides your team time, during their ID time once, twice a week. These cats got to do it every day. Even on Thursdays and pregame walkthrough stuff, we're going to practice, our footwork, and we're not going to contact, but we're going to practice our footwork and our pulling and all that. Okay. All right. Now, this is what I mentioned earlier. If you're going to read the backside DN, this eliminates the backside backer running through or scraping. You get this guy right here, if he's quick enough to come across, and tell him to come flat as he can come. If it means going right at the nose and running through where the nose was aligned to cut off that backside backer, so be it. But keep your eyes on him just in case he tries to come behind you right here. But you want to come flatter, flattest. If this guy's coming off the ball, just miss him, and you're just trying to cut off. If you can get to him and not cut him off, just run with him. Tell him just stay with him, run all the way across the field with him. And when your back comes through right here in the alley you've created, he can read that guy's block. And it becomes like the touchdown block in the original wing T days. And the quarterback is going to read the backside DN, and it could be a keep. If this guy's squeezing and trying to run it down from behind. If he's just chasing right here, then you'll keep and you'll run it right here, just like the zone read stuff. Okay? All right, that's nearly 30 minutes. You can see I can talk about this stuff all day. This is the end of the first segment. We're actually talking about how we block it. Now we're going to go into the next segment where we're going to talk about how we teach the skip pull and the gap down backer. And that'll be the second segment of how we block buck. Thanks again so much. I appreciate it. And give me a holler. At the end of this segment, at the end of this session, just like at the beginning, my phone number and email address is there. Thanks a lot.